We spent an hour outside the Allen County Misdemeanor Courthouse this week, and it didn't take us long to find folks unhappy with their public defender.
He told me sorry about my luck. Royally, in court. He told me that in court. He says, just take the plea bargain and get it over with.
Several years ago, Dave Burgett was charged with a more serious crime, burglary, and says on several occasions his public defender forgot he was supposed to appear in court.
He left the room, so they had to call him back 3 times just to be able to get back on. And he didn't have no paperwork or nothing for it. So, and I did 3 years for that.
3 years in prison for a crime Burgett still claims he didn't commit.
They said they was over case logged. They ain't got enough time to do anything on it. So they just basically show up, don't even know who you are.
Troy Christman was arrested in 2015 for dealing narcotics.
It just seemed like he didn't have the time to work with me on my case. He was not in my corner.
Christman spent 9 months sitting in a jail cell, most of that time waiting to see his public defender.
In the 9 months that I was in there, I only met with him about 3 times. I had to write him a letter to actually get the 3rd meeting with him.
Instead of working on a defense, Christman says his public defender kept pushing for one thing.
He just basically told me, look, you're guilty, just plea out and get this over with, when, you know, I was trying to get a program in order to get help.
Dozens more shared similar stories, but didn't want to talk on camera.
There's good people out there that are sitting in jail for crimes they didn't even do.
The Sixth Amendment Center, a public defense advocacy firm, published a 212-page study of Indiana's public defense system. The results?
Is it accurate to say Indiana is currently violating the Sixth Amendment?
Yes, it is, because they are not ensuring that each and every person who is entitled to counsel is getting effective representation.
Part of the problem, according to the study, Indiana is one of 28 states that does not fully pay for public defense, passing that cost onto the counties. The state will reimburse up to 40% of some cases if counties meet state standards, such as defense experience, caseload limits, and continuing education. But that's optional, and Sixth Amendment Center Director David Carroll says more counties are finding it's cheaper to bypass state oversight altogether.
So there's no one watching the ship is the bottom line.
Even when counties opt for the reimbursement program, state officials say there are glaring problems.
It's really just a meet 'em and greet 'em system. It's an assembly line system.
Larry Landis is the executive director of the Indiana Public Defenders Council, the state agency that provides resources to public defenders in the reimbursement program.
The number of cases and the number of lawyers tells me you've got serious problems that need to be addressed in Allen County.
One top state official we spoke with says Allen County, which joined the reimbursement program in 2003, is one of the worst abusers of what he calls the criminal misdemeanor loophole.
So how does the loophole work? Well, the state doesn't reimburse any of the costs of criminal misdemeanors. So as long as those public defenders don't work any other kinds of cases, they don't have to meet any of the state standards for attorney experience, qualifications, or caseload maximums. Is it possible that right now we have public defenders in the state that aren't qualified?
Yes, possible. Probable, even.
In Allen County, the Public Defender's Office contracts with 4 or 5 part-time lawyers to handle all of its misdemeanor cases. Last year, those attorneys saw more than 2,000 new cases alone. 4 out of 5 were assigned more cases than the state recommended maximum. One worked more than 4 times the suggested limit. The only lawyer within the max caseload didn't start taking cases until last October.
It should not be surprising that we have problems with quality.
I reached out to Allen County's chief public defender, Randy Hammond, for an on-camera interview. Due to a pending lawsuit against the county, he turned down my request, but sent a statement saying, quote, "Our public defenders are experienced attorneys who are well qualified to provide effective legal representation for each case they have been assigned."
We've got some excellent lawyers, but you handcuff them and you tie their hands behind their back and you overload them with cases, they're not going to provide high-quality representation. And then there's no oversight. There's no consequence for somebody being poorly represented.
The solution, says Landis, is more state funding and with it, more oversight. And a bill in this past legislative session would have added misdemeanors to the reimbursement program and increased state funding to 50%. It passed committee but never made it out of the House.
You get poor quality and people get ripped off, and nobody cares.
Landis says spending tax dollars to defend people accused of crimes is a hard sell. That is, until it affects you.
Most people don't realize that their liberty hangs by a slender thread of an accusation made against them. Your freedom depends upon the quality of representation you get. And most people, 80% of the people charged with serious crime, have to rely on a public defender.
I do think it was unfair, because I feel like whether I paid him or not, I should still get the proper treatment.